I feel like I don't know the Kyle story completely. So you graduated high school, right? And then
All right, so when I moved to Atlanta, I moved for the girl. I went after her. I wanted to be closer to her, and
was this a girl that you dated in high school?
yes, it's all the same girl.
Okay, then I know the girl. All
Yeah,
right.
it's all the same girl.
All right. Yeah, Kyle has
Had a long.
had a long off on our relationship with this one girl in particular that
When I want something, I do whatever it takes.
she owns his
It took me
heart.
10
It would
years.
seem. Yeah. All
I
right.
whittled her down.
Now, why was
And
she
then
in Atlanta? Because
moved
she went to
Atlanta.
your high school.
Yeah. So we graduate high school. She moves to Atlanta because she first moves to Athens, stays there for a year, then to Atlanta. She didn't like our small town, our small county, our small section of the state. It's not much to do
She
here.
wanted
It's
to be in
not
the
fun.
big city, so she moved to Atlanta.
Yeah,
And-
she wanted all the things to come along with that. So she moves to Atlanta. I follow along as a very much sort of in a weird quasi friend zone type place. I get my job there selling cars, and I'm working with and I make some friends at the dealership.
Wow,
I've
so you moved to Atlanta on the hope that you'll escalate to girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a real gamble.
I don't care. It's whatever. You know,
Wait, were you shaking
those are
dice? in
dice.
that?
That's double. That's double. Those are dice and my cock, and just rolling it and coming. This is all of them in one.
Okay. So you moved
take
to
it off
Atlanta
one.
to follow the girl on the hopes that you can escalate your relationship to boyfriend, girlfriend.
Get my job selling cars. I'm doing well there, loving it, kicking it, having a great time. I get an apartment in an apartment complex right across the street from where she lives. Not the same complex.
Do you have roommates in this apartment?
No, by
Oh,
myself.
Oh, no.
By myself. So I get this apartment all by myself out there, and I'm living right across from the street from her complex. We're separated and everything.
Are you 18?
19.
Okay.
19. So the first thing that happens, it's my birthday. We're gonna go out to dinner, and my apartment floods. I had my shirt hung up on the sprinkler, ironing, twist it, sprinkler explodes. Whole apartment's destroyed. All my belongings destroyed. They put it on my credit report. Didn't let me off the hook for like 8 years. They put a hawk report on me or something like that for damaging the apartment. It was a whole thing.
So people know the fire sprinklers thing that sometimes they have like a little red piece of glass that almost looks like a Christmas light. If you break that, horrible things happen.
Game over, bro. Thousands of gallons in this apartment. Ruined the apartment. So now I got nowhere to fucking live, right? Like, of course, she's not going to let me go live with her. That's not even remotely in the cards. So I asked my roommate, I asked my coworker, who's 24 at the time. I was 19 at the time. I'm like, hey, can I crash with you on your couch for a while till I get things figured out? So I'm crashing on his couch for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then, like, our quasi-friendship, boyfriend-girlfriend thing, whatever it was, meets its end. She breaks up with me, tells me this thing isn't going to work, whatever. Like, it's just not going to happen. Then I go into suicide mode. That's when I almost killed myself, outside her apartment that night. I've told that story a bunch of times.
I broke up with a girl that I'd known for a really long time, about 4 or 5 years ago. I think I've told this story to Woody before, but I was in her apartment and we broke up, and I was crying my eyes out, and I got all my shit, and I went downstairs to my car, and as I was walking down to my car, I was planning on shooting myself when I got to the car, because my gun was in my car. I was like, when I get down there, I'm gonna kill myself. And I got down to the car, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't. And I look in the back seat, and there's a big bag of her shit, and I'm like, yep, I'm killing myself. So I get the gun, and I'm gonna kill myself, and then I think, well, she's gonna come down tomorrow, and she's gonna find me in my fucking car with my brains blowed out. I'm like, I can't do that to her. I was like, I love her too much to do that to her, you know? That's why I'm killing myself, because I love her so much. I can't do that, so I'm like, I'll go home and kill myself. I'm like, all right, let's go home. So I go home, and I'm like, all right, it's time to kill myself now. I'm like, well, now my roommates are going to come home and find me. What the fuck? Where am I going to go kill myself? So I'm like, all right, I'll kill myself tomorrow. We'll go to the park. It'll be a nice day. So the next day I was too lazy to kill myself. Not going to lie. So I sat there and I was like, dude, I'm not going to work today. I worked with my roommate at a car dealership, and I was like, so I'm just sitting there on the couch, and he had this huge library of DVDs, so I started watching them, and I watched every DVD that he owned, including the entire Band of Brothers collection. I watched 60 DVDs before I left that couch. I lost 13 pounds because all I ate in like a 3-day period was a glass of milk and a peanut butter sandwich. And after that experience, I felt better. I think maybe like you just need to get some perspective on the whole thing before you make any rash decisions. And think about how like hurting yourself would hurt the people around you. And always remember that there's always another day. And Band of Brothers is awesome. You might want to watch that. That cheered me right up.
Don't kill myself and said, limp my
Spoiler.
I was hanging on every word.
I go to work and I'm just sitting there. My manager's like, "What's wrong?" He sits on the golf cart with me. He's like, "What's wrong, brother?" I just go, start crying or whatever. And he's just like, "Go home, man. Come back when you're good. Come back when you're good." So like I go back to my friend's apartment and I literally sit there and eat peanut butter sandwiches and milk for like 10 days until I'm like able to like collect myself together again. Watched all of Band of Brothers, every DVD that man owned. Really beefed up my film knowledge during that sad time. And so I'm just like, well, what am I gonna do? Like 10 days ago I was ready to kill myself because like what's the point now? Everything's been about getting this girl. We've moved here. We've done whatever it took. We financial hardships, whatever. My parents hated this whole thing with me moving out there. Fuck you, I'm going the whole nine. Like, they've cut me off financially. I'm making my own money now. I'm doing well, and I had some savings, but I'm cut off. And it's just it's rough, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go in my life, what my next step was, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to turn around and go home. I'm gonna be a winner when I go home. So I got to put my head back down to the grindstone, get back on this thing, and make some more fucking money. And so that's what I did. So I just went back to work, and I worked for another 9 months until I felt like I was going home a winner, and I did it that way.
Or did you stay at this apartment?
I stayed with them the whole time, crashing on the couch, fucking 9.5 months, and they didn't
rent?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
pay.
you piece of shit!
I pitched in a little with the rent sometimes. I may have left them in a tough spot when I left, but I did the best I could. And I always paid my part of the rent in any case. But when I left, I'm gone, and I'm not there to pay the rent anymore. So whatever. But I paid rent, and I paid for my share of the food and all that stuff. But I'd occasionally eat all their fucking food. But in any case, there were these two Lithuanian motherfuckers, and it was crazy living with them because they had their all. I'd never met any Europeans before.
How did you go from living there, working at the car dealership, then you moved back home, right?
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for that?
I was just done. Like I didn't want to.
You weren't happy.
There was nowhere to go from there. Like I had already been promoted. I had already like gotten as far. I was making plenty of money. I was doing everything I wanted to do out there, but I just didn't enjoy being out there. The whole point of being out there was the girls. So like the more I did, the better I did at my job. And the more that people like respected me at my job, the more every compliment I got was like bittersweet because it was like, why doesn't she see this about me? Why doesn't she care about this? Like everybody around me is kissing my ass and telling me that I'm like the best at this and the best at that. Like, oh my God, how did you do this? She doesn't care. And it was just really bittersweet. And I didn't like it. And I just wanted to get out of anything that reminded me of her.
I'll tell you, I've met her a couple of times, and she just seems like a normal person to me.
She's great.
It's just a regular person, I swear to you.
I mean, I've known her longer than you have.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and I dated her for another 2 years. I came back, got her back like 4 years ago, dated her for 2 years. 3 years ago, dated her for 2 years, and she broke up with me last year. And then and Woody was like, "What's wrong?" I went, "She broke up with me."
Is that the one that hit you really hard?
Yeah. I cried for like 8 months or something. I don't want to get into this whole thing, but that was the same girl that I had the almost suicide with before. Hey, this time around I didn't think about killing myself, so there's that. Hey,
that's great.
By the third breakup, I won't even feel it. Right?
He told me, he specifically said, like, I'm not suicidal, and in my head I'm like, how'd that get on the table?
Yeah.
Why?
Because last time I was like, well, let's just do this down here, and then I was like, but she'll find me. Or at least, the ambulance will be down here, and she'll ask her neighbor, what's this ambulance doing down here? And they'll say, oh, some guy shot himself in the parking deck last night. He's over there in that black Acura TL. And then I ruined her life. And I was like, well, I'll just suffer through my life so that hers will be a little easier. And that was literally what I did for a long time.
And it's like admitting defeat to do that right then.
I would have been happy to. I was defeated. I'd have been happy with defeat. I honestly kept living to make her life easier there for a long time.
And think of the life that you would have skipped. Like,
Yeah.
there's been some cool shit.
You don't know. If I'd killed
could've
myself,
filled
maybe
that
I'd have
power
been the
vacuum.
emperor of like Neptune or something. We don't know what kind of
You're-
reincarnations out there. I could have done some real cool shit.
I
Fuck blowing
feel
up houses.
you,
and
you've got a 20-sided D&D die, and you roll it, and you got like a 19 or 20, and you're like, oh, probably the next one would be even higher.
yeah,
No way.
just keep
Because
fucking
you've got all
rolling.
your charisma modifiers that couldn't get any higher.
Well, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
Wow, that means so
You know
much
what?
to you.
I'm glad. I don't want you to kill yourself.
You've got nice charisma modifiers too.
Oh, you.
But yeah, sad talk.
That was
I'm the
good.
gay one here, guys. Me.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was encroaching. I'll lower my percent back down to its normal levels. Yeah, that was. I like that little peek into your life, Kyle. I didn't know really hardly any. You've mentioned that stuff to me like briefly before, but never much. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So then you moved back home because just nothing was. I guess you felt like
and
you,
then
you
and
got
then,
your
like,
achievement.
As I was moving, I didn't want to be out there anymore. And then like as I moved, I hurt my back, and I was literally on the couch for like 4 weeks. Got real fat, and then just got real depressed and didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to work at the dealership. Didn't want to sell cars. Didn't want any part of that. And ended up just working with my dad for a long time. Just really enjoyed. I felt like Rambo whenever he's done killing in Vietnam, and he's like out there with those monks. I really felt like I was doing that for a while, just working with my dad like out in the field and just trying to like get my head straight after that whole thing with the girl. And you know, eventually that kind of leads into playing way too many video games to deal with the pain, and getting real good at those video games.
COD
and then,
4.
Top 4 what?
I said COD 4.
COD 4.
Oh, yeah, COD, yeah, and then you know, getting deciding that professional poker might be an option for me, and I did pretty well at that. And I bought my first gaming console with my professional poker winnings, and kind of started playing more. So there was a time when I would play poker like all night and play video games all day, and like do like zero work. And so yeah, like that. It all comes full circle. You know, if I don't go through the depressing, awful time with her, almost killing myself and all, then I don't end up swinging from helicopters and blowing up houses and flying drones and being Call of Duty commercials and fucking like half of Twitter or whatever I did. So you know, you gotta hurt to feel good. There's gotta be some lows so you appreciate the highs. So I'm happy with the way things have gone so far. At least I know what it feels to really love something a lot, and how intense it is to lose it. I feel like those are intense feelings that I've felt. And I don't feel like everybody gets that the full spectrum of intensity of horrible lows and super duper highs. But I think I've had both. I'm just getting started. I'm not even 30 yet.
I know.
Yeah.
But 30 to 40 probably goes way faster than 20 to 30,
Oh.
right, Woody?
If I make it to 40, next year's gonna be fucking crazy. I got some cool ideas.